Hey guys, welcome back to Legit Street Cars. Today I'm taking a break from my Mercedes V12 AMG woes to focus on a non-AMG Mercedes with 8 less cylinders, a manual transmission. Actually, first is down here, second is up here, third, it's got a really cool transmission. It also has a working suspension, unlike my CL65 AMG, and this car has just about as much 80s cool factor as you can get. So today in the Legit Street Quarters, we have this, a 1987 190E 2.3-16 valve. It's a lot to say, but this is a lot of car, and this was the AMG C-Class before there was an AMG C-Class. And because this is a full service car channel, not only will I be reviewing this car and going over its features, but we're going to be working on this car too. So this 190E belongs to my friend Mark from Young Timers Garage here on YouTube and Instagram. And you guys may know Mark from Legit Street Cars classics like Insane Barn Find, uncovered after decades, original paperwork inside, 50s, Mercedes, and Cadillac, or most recently, first drive of the abandoned pre-merger AMG car that sat for 27 years, fixing, preparing, everything, exclamation. So if you haven't seen those videos, I will link them down below, but Mark has a crazy obsession with older and rare Mercedes, so needless to say, Mark and I are good friends. And he just got this one, it came from California, right?
Yeah, this is a California car its whole life pretty much. Actually, prior to that, it was in Canada, because it's a Canadian spec car. It's got the kilometers on the cluster, and it's got the triangle in the trunk that the Euro cars came with, and it has a sunroof, which was only option for Canada. So it was like one of 500 with that.
Cool. So after you handed the man the money and the car was officially yours, what happened?
Well, you know, I don't want to give the guy a hard time, but it was pretty awkward. He started to cry a little bit. You know, he was on the spoiler and like having a moment with the car. But, you know, it was something other than that. I guess he had a leg problem and he couldn't drive stick shift anymore. So, you know, I guess it was hard for him to let it go. That's the only reason he was honestly selling the car. And he knew that I was going to take good care of it. So I'm really happy that I could own this car because it's been on my bucket list. So
when Mark told me the guy started crying after he bought the car, I immediately thought, what would happen if I ever sold my turbo Trans Am? I'd probably start bawling as well. So kind of a bittersweet ending for the previous owner, but it's definitely in good hands with Mark. All right, so I got to show you a little bit of this practically mint condition interior, and I think the back seat is one of the coolest parts of this car. This is only a 4-seater, like my CL65, and there's just about as much bolstering in the rear seats as there is in the front. Look at this. So you do get a little armrest here. But these seats are in excellent condition. They feel so nice too. You kind of feel like you're sitting in the front seat in the back seat. And this does not have any headrests. That was an option. So headrests, heated seats, and a sunroof, I believe, were the only options on the 2.3-liter 16 valve. And the front seats are in excellent condition as well. I don't believe they would actually say Recaro like that. I believe the previous owner added that, but these are indeed Recaro seats. They just didn't have any badging from the factory. So earlier I had mentioned the transmission has a weird shift pattern. You guys are going to see this once we hit the road for the test drive, but you can kind of get an idea. Reverse is here, second is here. It's a little odd, and this is called a Dogleg Transmission. It's made specifically for racing, which is cool. Then we have a few gauges here. You have your oil temperature, very important, your voltmeter. And the first time I saw one of these, because we had a couple of these come in the dealer when I was a technician at Mercedes-Benz of Chicago, I thought this was aftermarket, this video gauge. That is a lap timer, which we are definitely going to try out on the test drive as well. And then it has an aftermarket radio, unfortunately, but Mark did find a factory one. And the rest of it is pretty mundane, pretty normal 190E action going on here. The steering wheel is really nothing special. This car actually came with a C36 steering wheel that Mark swapped out for the factory unit. And when he did that, he broke the windshield, unfortunately. So his ratchet slipped and cracked the windshield. Luckily, this is only a couple $100s, and it's the same one that comes on a factory 190E. Can you believe this thing has 280,000 kilometers, or about 175,000 miles? You'd never be able to tell by looking at it.
Just like you'd never be able to tell that your streaming service actually has a lot more content than it seems. Well, that's unless you had NordVPN. I've been using NordVPN for years to keep my internet activity private and secure, but my favorite feature is content unblocking. I use this all the time, like when I wanted to watch Predator, but it wasn't available on Netflix USA. I just virtually transported to Germany, hit refresh, and just like that, I have the entire Predator collection. Or like the time when I wanted to watch The Office, but it was only available on Netflix in the UK, and my mom even uses NordVPN to watch Italian TV that's only available in Italy. NordVPN has thousands of secure servers all over the world, so don't let your location limit your content. You can get NordVPN on your computer, phone, and TV, so start exploring today.
Best part is, if you guys click on my link in the video description box or go to nordvpn.com/legit, you're gonna get a massive discount off their 2-year plan, making this only a few dollars a month, and they're gonna give you 4 months for free. So check out the link in the video description box. A big thanks to NordVPN for continuing to support automotive content creators like myself. Now, let's get back to the 190E. Now, probably the most important part of this car would be the engine. So some of the 190Es did have a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder, but they were only 8-valve units. So Mercedes got together with Cosworth. Cosworth is a company that's been into performance engines for now the better part of like 50 or 60 years, and they developed just the cylinder head on this engine. So now it's a dual overhead cam, 16-valve engine, so 4 valves per cylinder, and it looks to have factory headers. I couldn't imagine them getting any better than this. It looks like this car has aftermarket headers, but they do have a 102 Mercedes part number on them. They are at factory, and I believe this car has a cat delete and some other minor exhaust modifications. But it's fairly quiet like this. So if you guys saw the video Mark and I made on the 500 SEL AMG, you know all about the CIS mechanical fuel injection system. This has it as well. So these are the injectors. As you can see, no electrical connectors, and it has a fuel distributor right here. This one is in excellent working condition. This engine runs perfectly. And honestly, I'm pretty grateful for that because I sort of don't really want to mess with this ever again. The previous owner added some gigantic spark plug wires. There used to be a little cover here, so Mark will probably convert this back to the factory wires. He's big into factory cars, factory proper, period correct cars. So the wires will go. It's got an aftermarket strut tower brace. And as you guys are about to see, because we're going to pop the wheels off during our inspection, we got to inspect this car. We're getting it up on the rack. This has E420 brakes all the way around. So we want to inspect those and then just see the general condition of this car underneath, because as it looks right now, it's perfect. All right, so this is always the fun part of lifting lowered cars. This car was low from the factory, and then the previous owner lowered it even more. So let's see. Oh, get out of here. We're just barely going to make it. Look at that. Woo! Nice. I want to start this party off by removing the wheels and checking out these brakes. So these are actually the Evolution 1 wheels. They're not the factory wheels that came on the normal 2.3 liter 16 valve. So the factory wheels were 15s. These are 16 by 8, so quite the improvement. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, nice. All right, so these aren't the factory brakes, as you can tell with the rotors, but these are the calipers off of an E420. So larger calipers, and apparently, let's see, do these just bolt right up? Yeah, they look like they just bolt right up, so no modifications. And let's see, I'm going to say that these are aftermarket stainless steel brake hoses. And it does have aftermarket lowering springs. It does have Bilstein shocks. It looks like we have a different sway bar. So that's a 500E sway bar. So the previous owner did do some tasteful suspension modifications on this 190E. But I'm mostly here to see the condition of these brakes. So do we need to replace the brakes? The pads are pretty decent. The outer pad's good. The rotor doesn't have any lip. The inner pad's decent as well. So we'll go around check the other one, see what we got. But we're going to continue off, take this panel down and see if we have any leaks. Even in the 80s, Mercedes was using panels like this on the bottom. All right. Yeah, we definitely have an oil leak going on, and it's coming from all the way up there. I don't think it's the pan gasket. I think it's further up. Kind of hard to tell right now. This is definitely one of those situations where it's been leaking for a long time. You're going to want to pressure wash the engine and then just observe and see where it's coming from. I don't know if these 4 cylinders had head gasket leaking issues. I know the straight 6s would leak oil externally. That's how the head gaskets would fail on those. Could be something along those lines. But here is our Mercedes 102 engine and the manual transmission. I have never had a manual transmission Mercedes on my channel. You rarely see them in the States. I know you guys in Europe are going to comment about this. It's no big deal. We have manuals everywhere. I get it. I get it. I grew up half the time, half of my summers in Italy. I know all about manual transmissions in Europe. We just don't have them here. It's just a simple fact. Here is a steering shock. This is probably leaking. Let's check. Oh yeah, this is bad. Shouldn't be able to do this so easily. Just pulling the car in here, the steering felt good. Sometimes it's hard to tell when these are bad, but you can get a little wobble. And the steering wheel just doesn't feel as tight. So very easy thing to fix. We used to sell these all the time at the dealership. Paid a half hour, I remember. It'll take you about 3 minutes. We're not going to find this guy in stock anywhere, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that back. And it does look like someone has made some exhaust modifications. So this pipe leads to a period correct Rentec muffler. I think this is really cool, especially with these tips. It looks very 80s and doesn't really make it that loud. We can see a little bit more of the suspension. These are H&R springs. We're going to need some shock boots all the way around. I need those on my CL65 as well. This guy does have an inline fuel pump and fuel filter, just like the 500 SEL we were working on a few videos ago. This looks to have a different flex disc setup than some of the modern Mercedes I'm used to. So this looks to be the flex disc in here. And then this could be like a vibration dampener or something along those lines. I'm not really sure. I don't remember seeing this, but this isn't in the best of condition. This rubber is kind of coming apart. So probably something that needs to be replaced at some point, but the actual flex disc right here, which connects to the back of the transmission, is in great shape. So even in the 80s, Mercedes had these hydraulic engine mounts that would fail all the time, and when Mark bought this car, he drove it around in California while he was out there after he bought it, and he had a lower radiator hose, right? Yeah, this one here. Yeah, so this blew up on him, so he had that replaced, and he had both of the engine mounts replaced at the same time at that shop that... This is awesome. They apparently left their tool. No way. Look at that. They forgot. That's not built in, no. Let's see. Hold on. What brand is it? It's a Mac. This is a nice piece, man. You might want to mail this back to them. They're probably really missing this guy. That's awesome. Here you go, Mark. So this is really cool. This car had a self-leveling rear suspension setup. So keep in mind, the 190E was kind of like a C-Class. It was the entry-level Mercedes, not this one in particular. But it has a level sensor right here. You can see this linkage. It's adjustable, so I'm not sure if that's factory or aftermarket. And then it has accumulators here and big hydraulic lines going to these shocks. And there's a reservoir under the hood as well. Kind of a unique feature that you wouldn't expect to see on a car like this. Some of the much more expensive Mercedes had systems just like this. All right, so even though the pads look to have a decent amount of life, we are going to swap them out for some Akibono pads. You guys know that I've been using these basically my entire career. For an aftermarket pad, I really like these. They're ceramic. And Mark is just not happy with the performance of these pads. I already did the other side. They seemed a little glazed over, and the brake fluid is super dirty. So we're going to swap out the pads, and hopefully that'll help. All right, so these calipers have been painted a couple times. They were blue. Now they're some kind of orange. But you don't want to get in the habit of scratching your calipers. So I'm going to be using an old Mercedes-Benz of Chicago t-shirt to protect these guys so we don't chip them up. And we're just going to use these to compress the pad so we can get them out. There we go. And they definitely just sprayed these on the car. You can tell the pins are painted as well, so goodbye paint. out with the old. Yeah, these things are just a little glazed over. They've been used for sure. Actually, they're probably about 50% life. You can see they're about to trip the sensor, so not a bad idea to swap these out. I'm going to put a little bit of brake paste on here as well. And in with the new. Okay, we didn't get any new hardware with the brakes, but this hardware seems to be in good shape, so we will reuse it. All right, so we're kind of at the mercy of the local auto parts store. They, of course, do not have brake pad sensors for this guy either, and so I'm going to attempt to reuse these. I was able to get the other side out, no problem, but this one is kind of a little mangled. Come on. Okay. We'll stick this in there, but yeah, we're gonna have to replace this guy. All right, time to hit up the rear, and this pin wasn't pushed in all the way. No problem though. Doing a pad slap on these are so easy. Anybody can do these at home. Just popping out 2 pins. Then with the old pad, you're just compressing it a little bit. These look practically new. So we're barely moving anything. Look at this. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to do these, but I'm hoping that swapping out to a different brand pad will bring back a little bit of the performance. There we go. All right, this one's being kind of a pain. Okay. Mark, you didn't see that? It's fine. All right, slide this little guy in. Look at these cute little baby pads. Look at that. All right, we're done with the brakes, so moving on to the brake fluid flush, except I forgot my fluid exchanging vacuum pump at home. And then, of course, we're using the good stuff, the Amsoil synthetic brake fluid. Link down below if you guys want 25% off Amsoil stuff. I'm a dealer. All right, so without the vacuum bleeder, we're using a bucket and this hose. And yeah, this is a 3/8 for some reason. Probably had to replace these bleeders at some point. All right, Mark, go ahead and push down and up and down. Yep, we're getting good fluid. And up. All right, we'll go around, do all of these, get rid of this nasty brake fluid, and yeah, let's go for a ride. All right, so here is the Dogleg Transmission, and this was specifically put in this car because they wanted it to be used on the track. So reverse is actually up, over, and all the way over here. That is reverse. So normally you'd go this way for first, but we actually have to go down and to the left for first. And the idea here is that second and third gear are right in the middle. And if you're doing a road course and racing this car, you're primarily going to be in second and third. So this is a much easier shift, which I'd have to agree for those purposes. This would be nice. But let's see how this is in the real world to drive. This is my first time. All right, here we go. Taking off in the Cosworth head-equipped 190E. Alright, second gear. Alright, yeah, so second and third is sweet. It's so easy, just up and down. I love that. And here we're going to take a little turn here, go down to first. Alright, we're coming out of a turn at the track. Yeah, second and third is sweet. I like it. Wow, the transmission is buttery smooth. Not sure if it's ever been rebuilt. I'm going to probably venture to say it hasn't. These things are just nice. Wow. All right, so we're in third. Back down to second. Very easy rev match on this high revving 4-cylinder. I wasn't paying attention, but we're supposed to shift around 7,000 RPM. All right, let's see what this feels like. Oh man, slamming the brakes. Woo! Okay, we had to go over the train tracks there. I didn't want to ruin Mark's car. Yeah. The brakes work though. They work well. Oh man, this is addicting. So obviously it's not the fastest car in the world, 170 horsepower naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, but it revs up high, it sounds cool, and you just feel like you're in like a little 80s race car, because you kind of are. You're in the street version of this, but that's what this car was based on. Was the 190E Evolution, and that was the straight up race car version of this. So they made them for the street, which is really cool, before AMG, so Mercedes could do their own performance stuff before they officially became partners with AMG and bought them out. And this is it. So this is a non-AMG car. So this lap timer is factory, and it does work. Not really exactly sure how. We should be able to figure out this 80s technology. Is there a YouTube video on this? Dude, I need to... I need to race. I need to race. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see how long it takes to get to the end of the street here in the 190E. 7,000 RPM. Woo! Alright, we're going to call that the end of the street. 21 seconds. 25 seconds. Stop. 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 All right. Now you guys had absolutely no context there at all. I don't even know how far I went, but we used the lap timer in the 190E, and that's all that matters. And I'm really liking this. I really do like this transmission for the second and third racetrack feature here. So we're in third. The rev match. And then right back into third. I love it. All right, so I know it's not the fastest car in the world, but it is addicting. It's so controllable because it doesn't have a ton of power. You're not fishtailing all over the place, but man, does it handle so nice. So nice. I gotta remember which gear I'm in here. There's CDs and tapes that are just flying all over the place. So this 190E only has one option, the sunroof. It doesn't have heated seats. It doesn't have the rear headrests. They're just not there at all. And I believe those were the only options. I'd have to go back and watch the Doug DeMiro video from like 3 years ago. But I think he said those were the only 3 options you could get on one of these cars. And they made about 19,000 of these 16-valve, 2.3-liter sportier 190Es, as opposed to like a million other 190Es. This car was really what brought people into the entry level of Mercedes. This is what made it possible for people that didn't have a ton of money to own the brand. And then from there, they could eventually lead into buying the more expensive model. So this was a very, very important car. The 201 was one of the most important cars for Mercedes-Benz, because this started a tradition for people to buy these cars. Then maybe they bought the E-Class after that, and possibly an S-Class, and so on. So the 190E, although to today's standard isn't the coolest car in the world, the history behind it is very, very important for the brand. I'll get the thumbs up right now. So this thing might not be the fastest, but that is a plaid Model S cruising by. And there you have it, a 1987 190E with the 16-valve 2.3-liter and the manual transmission, the dogleg transmission, the rear bucket seats, though, there's everything, the lap timer, just... This car embodies German 1980s. I love the fact that it's here at Legit Street Quarters, and I got a chance to not only drive it, which was a blast, but also work on it. I know we didn't do a lot, but it's always fun inspecting a car like this, seeing what it's got under the skin. This thing has quite a few very interesting mechanical aspects, like the transmission, like the self-leveling in the rear, and this one has been tastefully modified as well. So they didn't go too crazy, but it does handle really well, even with the bad steering shock, because of the springs and the shocks and everything that they added. So a very well-rounded car that is now in the hands of Mark from Youngtimers, and he's going to keep this thing pristine. And if you guys want to see more on the 190E, make sure to follow Youngtimers Garage here on YouTube and on Instagram. I'll probably post up some pictures as well at Legit Street Cars on all the social media outlets. So I hope you enjoyed this review done in the Legit Street Cars way. And if you did, hit that thumbs up button, share the video, subscribe if you're new, and most importantly, have an awesome day. I'll catch all of you in the next video.